And we are live. Welcome to the Expat Women's Bold Moves Abroad monthly coffee chat live stream. I'm very excited for today's topic because we're going to be talking about immigrant heritage. This month, June, is Immigrant Heritage Month, and I thought what better topic than to talk about our cultures. I think, oh my God, I see here echo. Ken, would you mind all of you muting yourselves while I'm not speaking? Hopefully now there won't be an echo. Who knows what's going on? But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have each of my wonderful guests. I still hear the echo. Okay, so Janleen, Willie, and Glynis, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Okay.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am Glennis Swan, and I am coming to you live from Dallas, Texas, in the United States. I am originally from the very small island of Bermuda, which is a British territory. It's actually one of the oldest British territories. The very small island of Bermuda, which is a British territory. It's actually one of the here in the United States. I am a global HR and talent mobility professional. And so for the past 20 years, I've worked with organizations and they're relocating employees and families to optimize their relocation experience. I'm also a career strategist and executive coach that specializes in leadership development and conflict intervention. An executive coach that specializes in leadership development and conflict intervention.
Are you all hearing the echo?
That specializes in leadership development and conflict intervention.
Are you all hearing the echo?
Yes, I heard it while I was talking, but I'm on mute and I'm not on. I'm in my ear, so I don't have my music on.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I'm not on. I'm in my ear, so I don't have my.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I'm in my ear, so I don't have my.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave and come back. Sorry for all those watching it live. Okay, what I'm going to do is maybe it's me. I'm going to leave and come back. Sorry for all those watching it live. Okay, what I'm going to do is while I'm leaving, maybe each of you can introduce yourself, and then Glynis will come back to you. So I'll leave and come back. Maybe it's something to do with while I'm leaving. Maybe each of you can introduce yourself.
Sure, I'll go next. Hi everyone, I'm Millie McDevitt. I'm in the UK and I am from the UK, although my heritage is from India. And just very briefly about myself, I was a British diplomat for over 20 years. Which took me to many different places around the world and threw up quite a lot of interesting discussions because obviously in a lot of countries, when they hear the word British diplomat, I'm not necessarily the person they expect to see the image, certainly not the image of a British diplomat. I think traditionally it's always been a white male middle-aged person, shall we say. So that always threw up some interesting images. And I am now, I specialize in working with the spouses of diplomats and other expats, helping them to feel happier wherever their spouses are posted so that it's place for them and they're posting as much as for their spouse. So I shall pass over to Yanaline.
But before that, I want to jump in, ladies. Thank you. I figured out what was wrong, and sorry about that. It was my fault. I had StreamYard open and I had the YouTube channel open, so there was what you were hearing, the echo was actually the live stream streaming on YouTube, and because I have the sound on, so there wasn't a glitch with StreamYard. So you're always learning. Sorry about that, and I'm sorry for all those who joined us. But Millie, I got the last bit of your introduction. So yeah, we'll have Glynis introduce herself again. and then Maria. And thank you for all those who have stuck around despite all those crazy echoes. That's part of, I guess, part of expat life too, right? There's always some new challenge. If you think you've got it all figured out, and then something happens. All right, go ahead, ladies. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I'm Yanaline. I'm the founder of Healing Art Journey. I'm joining from England, but currently I'm living in Kuwait and I come from South Africa. So I'm all over the place. I've been an expat for 23 years, and Kuwait is country number 13 for me to live and work in. And throughout my journeys, being an expat, I've always had art stay with me. And a couple of years ago, I got certified as an art therapist. And now I am helping expat women deal with expat life and everything that expat life throws at them with art and creativity. Yeah, that's in a nutshell me. All right, and I'll give it over to Maria. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Maria, we can't hear you. What? Maybe while you figure out, we'll have Glynis introduce herself again. Glynis, sorry about earlier.
Hi, no problem. Again, my name is Glynis Swan, and I'm coming to you today from Dallas, Texas, in the United States. I am originally from Bermuda, which is a very small British territory, um, actually the oldest British territory, I believe. And I moved here a long time ago for a little bit of adventure. I had a great opportunity to move here and explore and try something different, and so I stayed. Professionally, I am a global HR and talent mobility professional, which basically means I work with expats and their organizations, relocating employees and their families and ensuring that they have an optimal experience. I am also the founder of the Edge of Audacity, which is where I operate as a career strategist and an executive coach. I specialize in leadership development and conflict intervention. And that's me.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Glynis. And I just realized all of us are connected through the UK,
Yes.
because I'm from India originally, British colony. I didn't know that Bermuda was the oldest British colony. I'm always learning that. Awesome. And then Janlene is British, I think. No, South African, but you live in the UK. Millie lives in the UK. Maria lives in the UK. So interesting that,
Yeah.
that's our connection. Maybe we can even find something that, we all do that we've inherited from either being colonized by the Brits or living, right? I'd love to maybe, touch on that. But Maria, let's see if your sound works now.
Let's see. Can you
Yes.
hear me now? All
Yes.
right. Wonderful. All right. I'm Maria Eugenia Mazzino. I'm originally from Argentina, and now I'm based in London. And what I can tell you, since my childhood, I live surrounded by migrants. Because in Argentina we have so many people from all around the world. And also my heritage is very wide because I have a Spanish heritage, Italian, Scottish, from Scotland, France, and even native Argentinian. So, I'm very mixed. So I don't know what heritage to honor. I honor all of them. And that's why maybe I love to travel, and I migrate 2 times, and then I expatriate with my family. And that became my profession, is to support expat families to deal with transitions. And I'm a coach, life coach, and also psychotherapist. And this is what I do. And I'm so happy to be with you, ladies. And yesterday we met in person, Janalene and Millie. So
That's so cool for people watching. Millie, Janlene, and Maria met yesterday for coffee. They were all guests at the Expat Women Summit. Maria was a speaker, and they connected during the summit, and they met for coffee. And them speaking today and them meeting for coffee was two different incidents. It just was like a beautiful coincidence. Rarely do you meet in person first and then you meet virtually. Usually it's the other way around. So I think it's really cool, right? I love it. I wish I could have been a fly in the wall to hear all your conversations and stuff. It would have been so fun, and also have the coffee in London. But I just wanted to acknowledge people who are joining us. We have Gina Marie. She is in this from the States, but she's living in Costa Rica for 9 years. Gina Marie, I remember you were one of the guests at the summit. We have Chris Cobo. He's joining us from Phoenix, Arizona. We have very few gentlemen join the Expat Women event. So welcome, Chris. We always welcome, people, gentlemen to join as well. And then we have someone joining from St. Louis, but for some reason it says LinkedIn user. So let us know in the chat your name. And if you're just joining us, introduce yourself, tell us where you're calling in from. And even though you can't join us on stage, we will encourage you to, interact in the comments as I ask people questions. And my name is Naina Kaputi. I'm the founder and CEO of the Expat Woman. I'm also a LinkedIn coach, and I'm originally from India, and I moved to the US 23 years ago to study film in New York. I came here as a student. But I landed up staying because I met my husband here. So I'm also what I'd call an accidental expat, because I never planned to live in the US. I was planning to go back to India. I had a job lined up and everything. So my story might be a little different, but I've faced all the challenges that everyone else faces. So again, welcome to Immigrant Heritage Month, Bold Moves Abroad Coffee Chat. It's going to be a really fun discussion, and I'm going to open it up with my first question. And what we'll do is I'll ask the question, whoever wants goes first, and then whoever wants can jump in after that. Okay. The LinkedIn user is Lachi Delchev. She says, sorry, it's some kind of weird setting that's hiding my name. Yeah, Lachi, I've had some issues today as well. That's welcome to the world of tech. Okay, so I had to write down my questions because I had so many, but now I just realized because I had to leave, I lost the question, but let me just think. I know what the questions are. So my first question will be, what is one tradition that you continue to practice, or holiday that you celebrate, or something from your country that you continue to do in the country you have moved to? And if you've moved multiple countries, it doesn't even have to be a country of origin. It could be one of the countries you expatriated to. Whoever wants to go first, and then we'll have everyone share.
I'm happy to kick off. So one thing that I always take with me or carry with me wherever I am in the world is tea, which might not come as a surprise given that I'm British, but actually for me it brings together both sides of myself because of my Indian heritage, and I grew up with my parents always drinking tea, like whatever was happening, let's just sit down and have a cup of tea and a snack. And Naina, you'll probably can relate to that as well. And then obviously in the UK, tea plays a very important role here. And unfortunately, wherever I've lived, and I've lived and worked in 20 countries. I say 10 plus 10 countries I've worked and lived in, and 10 countries that I've also been associated with. I've either always had tea with me, or it has been a tea producing country. So that's always been quite interesting. And when it's not been a tea producing country, it's usually been coffee. So yeah, those hot drinks they always bring me back home, as it were.
That's so interesting that you said that, Millie, because Janvi, for you, last week when we had our members virtual meetup, you spoke about tea, right?
Oh, yes. I've taken tea with me to every single country. That's what keeps me grounded. And in each country, learning what their tea culture is. Also, I learned something about the places I lived in, like in China and Japan. And all of these places have special tea ceremonies and special things around tea. And that's something I bring from home, even South Africa, where it's rooibos tea. That was a normal. We were also talking about, even as kids, that your mother would make you some rooibos tea. There you go, here's some tea, and there you go off. to the wild. So tea is my cup of home for me always, I think.
That's beautiful. And coming back to the tea thing, when I moved to the US, I would have this hot cup of tea, as both Millie and you shared. It's I think I'd be interesting to hear from Glynis too, because she has also from a former British colony. But I would have tea at about 4, and my husband's American, and he was like, what is it? What are you doing drinking tea? Like, we don't really drink tea. And what is this 4 o'clock tea with a snack? And then we go to India and you're like, it's so hot here. And you guys are drinking hot tea at 4 in the afternoon. But as you said, I don't know, we grew up with it. It's something very comforting. Unfortunately, living here for so long, I've stopped drinking tea at 4 o'clock. But it's sad because I think it's such a beautiful tradition. And as Janveen shared, and Millie was like, all the different countries that celebrate tea, like it's kind of like a celebration or a ceremony. So it's so interesting. But yeah, Glynis and Marie, I'd love to hear. And Glynis also, any
Yeah.
takes on the tea? Yeah.
So I'll give you my take on the tea, and then I'll share some other food. Apparently, it's food and drinks that resonate with us. But so I, of course, grew up hot tea, and my great grandmother every day after school at 4 o'clock, she had tea and Rivita crackers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but we had that every day. So when I moved here to the South, everyone drinks sweet tea, and it's cold tea.
Wow.
So it's like cold, it's iced tea. And if you go to like luncheons or things like that, usually they'll have glasses of water on the table. They always have glasses of sweet tea. And I remember the first time I tasted it, I was like, what is this? It was awful to me. And I've been in the US for at least 30 years now. And I just started to accept drinking sweet tea, but it must be flavored and it must be very, very sweet. This year was the first time I tasted it, and I was absolutely against it. I was like, no, tea is meant to be hot. There is no other way to drink tea. So there's that. But I do find myself whenever I travel anywhere, I'm always gravitating to tea, no matter where I am. But the foods that I hold dear to my family for rituals are fish cakes and hot cross buns on Good Friday. That's just something that we always did on Good Friday. It was always a holiday back home. Here in the US, your company may or may not celebrate it, but I make it anyway. Fish cakes and hot cross buns. And then at Christmas time, it's always cassava or farine pie, which takes a lot of time to make. There's a lot of eggs and sugar that is involved, but it tastes great. So those are my every year I have to do those.
Oh, that's so cool. I love, and again, anyone want to jump in? But I just loved about the sweet tea, and like I didn't even realize, even though I live in the South, I think again, I mean, I live in the US. I guess every state and every city has their own traditions, because there's no, like here in California, there's no iced sweet tea. So I love that.
Yeah.
And the hot cross buns, we too on Good Friday, the Catholics would have hot cross buns on. And when I moved here, I was looking for hot cross buns and I couldn't find any. Maybe now some bakeries do it, but yeah.
If you find a Caribbean market or the specialty food stores, they actually will make hot cross buns.
Oh, okay.
So I've found them recently, but I used to have to make them from scratch.
I'm impressed that you make them from scratch.
I don't do it anymore. I outsource that now.
Oh, you do? Okay. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I
Maria?
found that
Go ahead.
I can't eat hot cross buns if it's not Easter time. Whenever somebody's like, oh, I'm like, no, it's just wrong. Like Easter is hot cross buns, and then they have to be hot, and you cut them open, and you put butter on them, and it melts, and it's just, oh yeah, I understand that part.
So is that a British thing? I wonder if that's come from the British, right?
Yes, it's British, because I found it here, and I haven't seen it in other different countries I've been. And also, if I would like to share, for instance, about the tea, I don't have a drink, I don't have a food. What I have that I grew up in a Catholic and Protestant family in Argentina. So we going to church on Sundays. That was the tradition, and I keep carry on, with myself and my family, and because it's not just praying, it's also finding a community where we share values and you feel welcome. And also they teach you new traditions, like the hot, the cross hot bun on Eastern here. Or my husband, he's from Spain, is the El Roscón de Reyes. It's like something we eat in Eastern, they eat it on Christmas. So I understand Janalyn that is like, no, this is wrong. You don't eat it in December. You eat it in December. It's like, all right. Yeah, Eugenia, I talk to myself, Maria Eugenia, okay, open your mind, give yourself a try. It's all right. But this is for me, it's like finding, it's the bread of life that we are having every Sunday everywhere in the world. And this is the tradition we keep as myself and as a family.
That's true, and I don't want it to go to too religious, but I do want to add to what you said, because I'm Catholic too, Maria. I grew up like a minority in India, and my husband's also Catholic. But sometimes religion across borders, right? No matter what, like maybe the same with Muslims or Hindus or Jews. It's if you notice that whichever country you go to, like the churches, the mass will be the same. Maybe sometimes they'll incorporate some traditions, like in India, some masses they'll have the dances, they incorporate the dances, and the music will be like like depending on the state. Like some states they'll be using a lot of instruments, but otherwise it's the same. So it's interesting that religion can be, and I go to church every Sunday too with my family. Like I continue that. But yes, I just love that. For me, and this must be, I don't know if I'm the British or who or Portuguese, because in India also was part of India was colonized, but the Portuguese, for me, it's a nap, taking a nap every afternoon. I see ladies are shaking it.
I take naps.
Awesome. And, because I work from home, I can take the nap every afternoon. And my husband, initially, again, just for those joining, he's American, and Americans don't take naps. And he said, my gosh, how lazy you are taking a nap in the afternoon. And his grandmother was horrified that I had to take a nap in the afternoon. And now my husband takes naps in the afternoon too. He's self-employed too. When he's not, he's a film producer. When he's not shooting, he's taking a nap in the afternoon. So sometimes we, our traditions, we hold on to them, and then other people also pick them up. But I just think, who brought naps? Was it the British or the Portuguese? What do you guys think?
I don't know, but I certainly picked it up from my time living in Spain. Like the siesta really kind of stayed with me, and yeah.
I was going to say it's from Spain, the la siesta, the siesta thing, the nap is from Spain, but it's historical because they used, after the Civil War, they have to have to work. A lot of people have to have to work. And 2 jobs, I mean. So they go early in the morning, they come back home, they eat, they have a nap, and then they go back to work. So that is the thing. But in some places in Spain, in the south, it's because of the heat. It's so hot, so you have to be inside and just, until it's available. You are available to go outside again.
That's interesting how it came about, because of the heat and maybe the war. What about Glennis? Is that
I never thought of it until this conversation. I never thought of it as a cultural thing. I just know that as a kid, you just always took a nap, right? And you came back refreshed. And I think as we become adults, it's like, we want to take a nap. Naps are for kids. But so for me, it's like a health and wellness thing, right? I feel like if I take a nap, even if it's 15 or 20 minute, like cat nap, I, just get refreshed. So I remember when I used to work in the office, sometimes I would just close my door, right? I don't work in the office anymore, so I can state it. I would close my door and I would block off my calendar for like 15 or 20 minutes, and I would take a nap. And it helped me, especially like in the afternoon. It just helped me to make it through the rest of the afternoon. So I strongly believe in that. I didn't know it was a cultural thing. I think everyone should take naps, and no one would be cranky, and we would all have a good day.
So. Oh, I agree. I love my naps. And I would always go, hide away in some jobs, during lunch.
Yeah.
I'd go for lunch and then take a 15-minute nap somewhere.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite places where I worked, I worked in China.
Mhm.
And in the school, you would have an hour and a half for lunch
Yeah.
because they have half an hour's nap time. And I was like, are you serious? They're like, yes. Everybody in the office, they switch off the lights. You even have your little pillows. Everybody gets comfy and everybody takes a nap for half an hour. The office is quiet. It's cut off. And then after that half an hour, you get going again with your day. And I was like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah. There are even some organizations here in the US that have rooms. They don't necessarily call them nap rooms, but they have rooms in the office if you just need to have a break, be in the dark, take a nap, whatever you do in there, you just go in there, you close the door, and you just take the time that you need to recharge. So there are some progressive organizations that recognize, that having some time away helps employees to recharge.
Right, right. Yeah. But I think it's still not that nap, like for us,
Yeah,
it's like after lunch you take your
yeah,
nap.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is like, yeah. I don't know if it'll ever catch up in the US. Clevia here shared something. Let's see what Clevia has to say. She's another member of the Expat Room membership. Hi, Clevia. Spain, definitely the siesta. Italy, too. And my German side of the family always took naps after lunch. I did not like it as a child, but I'm there with you, Naina. I take short naps, 20 minutes in the afternoon. Yes, Glynis. So that's interesting that even in Germany, and again, it may be related to the war and everything. I mean, now I want to look up the history of this whole nap thing and why is the US not into naps? I'm curious about that as well. Any Americans watching? I know Gina Marie is originally from the US. I'm just curious, Gina, do you know why? I know Americans work a lot, so
It
maybe
might be too focused on productivity and
I
thinking if you take a 20-minute nap, you're not going to take cuts out of your productivity. Where I think if I take a 15-minute, 20-minute nap, I am better. Yes,
right.
Yeah,
in China, you have your
Yeah,
nap
absolutely.
time built into your work day. It's just fabulous.
And I think it's even more important because nowadays that everything happens at such a pace, right? And you have things coming at you all the time. You have emails, you have text. It's sort of quite non-stop. So I think now it's even more important to almost sort of take the time to just pause and recharge. At least that's my excuse. And go and just take, that 20-30 minutes just to not be engaged or talking or communicating with anyone else but myself, as it were, and just resting.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure. Thanks. Thank you all for sharing your perspective. I asked so some of our guests shared things that they have taken with them to the country. They moved to. Gina Marie said Thanksgiving. And I know a lot of Americans do celebrate Thanksgiving wherever they go in the world. And I think because of social media and everything, I think Thanksgiving is now becoming like more and more popular. I don't know if any of you have the non-Americans here have noticed Thanksgiving in the countries you've lived in. You have? Okay. Yeah. For me, yeah, Thanksgiving was actually a culture shock because I just found, and now I like the food, but the first year I just found the food so bland. I almost, that was like one of the biggest culture shocks because, Indian food is so spicy and everything. And then suddenly this turkey and spaghetti squash and, cranberry sauce. And I'm like, what is this food? This is like so weird. And, my husband's grandmother is Italian, but she wanted to really assimilate into the US. So she was totally like Americanized. She one year my husband and his brother said, bring Indian food, let's spice it up. So I brought Indian food the second year to Thanksgiving, and my Italian grandmother-in-law was really mad at me because she felt that I had kind of desecrated Thanksgiving with the Indian whatever vindaloo and all that. And then my husband and his brother looked it up, and Thanksgiving meals in the old days were not turkey and stuff. It was venison and all kinds of other stuff. So there's note, like traditional Thanksgiving. I mean, it was so. Anyway, that's my story about Thanksgiving.
What
Yeah, go ahead, Glennis.
I tell you, Nana. So for Thanksgiving, of course, in Bermuda, we never celebrated Thanksgiving. We knew as children, we knew about the Thanksgiving holiday because we, had to learn all of the world history. So we knew what Thanksgiving was, but I mean, it was not a holiday, And so, of course, when I moved to the US, I was like, okay, it's a holiday, but it wasn't until my children started to go to school and, it was all this big thing about Thanksgiving. So I remember the year I decided I would roast a turkey. I never cooked a turkey ever, but I didn't want my kids to be, like singled out for not celebrating Thanksgiving. Yeah, I forgot to take there's a bag
Oh,
of
the
what is
plastic
it?
bag
The
on the
stuff?
inside.
Yes, that's in the turkey. I cooked the turkey because I didn't know it wasn't a tradition, for us. So I didn't know what to do. So that was the first time. I think I tried it like maybe two times after that. But as Nana said, the traditional food is kind of bland. Until you need to come down to the South, Nana, and meet some people that add some spice and they do all sorts of other things with turkey. They smoke the turkey or they fry the turkey, so they do some interesting things. I still just leave it to the Americans, to make their food. In my house, I just make all traditional Bermuda food, or food. I ask my family what is it that they like to eat, and I just make all of their favorite foods, and that's how we celebrate Thanksgiving. I will tell you that pre 9/11, when it was easier to travel and things like that, if my father would come to visit, or I had family that would come to visit, they would bring foods, from Bermuda. So one Thanksgiving, we actually had lobster. My father went to my favorite seafood restaurant in Bermuda and had the chef not create, make some lobsters like early that morning. He packed them on ice and brought them through the airport because you could do that pre 9/11. And for that Thanksgiving, we had fresh flown-in lobster from Bermuda. So yeah.
Wow.
So if anyone desecrated Thanksgiving, I've been doing it for many many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Glynis. So I was in the States as a student at university for a year. And so I got really excited that Thanksgiving, thinking I'm going to finally experience. Well, as a child, I'd been at an American international school as well. So, but anyway, that's another story. So I thought, well, finally I'm in the States living, I can experience Thanksgiving. And one of my university professors invited myself and a few other international students very kindly to his house for dinner, which was really kind of him. And he told us all to bring something traditional from where we were from. So we all did. And we all kind of arrived expecting a traditional turkey Thanksgiving dinner. His wife was from Southeast Asia. And so the Thanksgiving dinner wasn't quite as we expected because it was a combination of food from around the world. So, which was super interesting, but not your traditional Thanksgiving. But what was really kind of, I suppose, special was that he then told us about the origins of Thanksgiving and about celebrating and actually about the harvest and why he wanted to celebrate it in a different way because we had all come from different cultures and countries. And so I think we did have pumpkin pie. I think that was the one nod, but the rest of so that was my kind of very first Thanksgiving experience.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing. And I like what your professor said. You're celebrating folks from all over the world with Thanksgiving. So you have different cuisines. And actually, just want to add one more thing. My husband's younger sister, every Thanksgiving, she has a different cuisine, like from a different country or from a different part of the US. So it's like 1 year Italian, 1 year French, Indian, So I tell her, I'll maybe suggest Bermudan for her because maybe that's, she's always looking and she will set the table, she'll dress, she'll do all the stuff according to that country. So my mother-in-law must be rolling in her grave because her granddaughter's breaking all tradition. But that's also an interesting thing, right? My grandmother was of Italian origin, but she could not in those days celebrate her culture because Italians were really treated badly. Like, they were looked down upon. And so she wanted to just, adopt everything that was American. And I think today, hopefully, and maybe you all can correct me, but maybe today it's easier to celebrate our traditions and cultures where, what do you think? Because all of you have lived in different countries, all of you have different, what do you think about that?
Yeah, and I would like to share that, for instance, I start celebrating Thanksgiving in Istanbul because my daughter's teacher, she was from Chicago. So we want to please her. Well, and long story short, we celebrated the first time. I cook a chicken because not a turkey I couldn't find. Anyway, later on, I'm in Paris. My daughters were going to international school, and I like to celebrate Thanksgiving. And I invite many American and also Indian and Korean. So it was lovely that they brought some dish from their culture, and we have the vegetarian table from the Indian friends that they all only have this. And the funny thing was like the American ones say, it's the first time we sit at the table to have dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, because they usually are watching, the football and the kids. So, all the things, but also it was great because it was open to everybody to feel comfortable and also sharing. And it was funny, I say the American, okay, you are the expert, you're going to cut this turkey that I had in the oven. The funny story too is like when I ordered the turkey in French, something I did wrong that I ended up with 2 turkeys. turkeys. We had turkey for 3 months.
That's so funny.
So,
Thanks for sharing that. That's very cool, Maria. That's fascinating that you're doing it in Istanbul. You're not even from the US. And like, this is what I love about heritage and culture. And I hope we can keep all this alive, these traditions, and and that's why I wanted to have this conversation today, because I think so much is getting lost, especially with social media and everything. People are like, especially our kids and the next generation, it's just it's all getting kind of bland. So it's so important for us to also celebrate it. So anyone else wanted to add what I shared earlier about like being able to celebrate your traditions and cultures without being discriminated against? Like, does anyone have any stories, either positive or negative, about it?
well, I would say, the dulce de leche, this creme caramel that is in Spain, they found it so sweet. And it's like, no, we are from, Nutella, they like Nutella. So it's more like and they say, I don't like Nutella, this is so sweet for me. And it's like, we always have this fight. But I think food is connected with your childhood. That it was so important. We keep honoring our heritage and giving our children and also sharing with their friends, our culture, even though they don't like it at the first time, or they will find it weird, right? But it's like, give it a try. And I think this is important, and it's on us to keep passing this culture to the next generations.
And I think what's interesting is how certain holidays and celebrations are now recognized, if not celebrated, in different cultures which don't recognize them, and which they may sort of alter them. So I'm thinking particularly, for example, for Christmas, which traditionally, historically, is a Christian holiday, and yet when I lived in Bangladesh and Indonesia, Muslim-dominated, predominantly Muslim countries, Indonesia particularly, largest Muslim population in the world, there was still Christmas decorations and Christmas songs. So there was that, but it was the spirit of family and coming together and a sort of joyfulness all day, rather than the religious aspect. And so despite not being in the UK, my kids still, and it being hot, right? So it wasn't cold like it is in the UK at Christmas. My kids still felt like their holiday was being celebrated. And so I think that's quite interesting as well, how different cultures and countries have taken on these almost, I suppose, international or universal holiday celebrations to some degree.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I've only spent Christmas or the month of December either here in the US for back home in Bermuda. And this December, I will be in Edinburgh, Scotland, for a wedding. And I know it's going to be cold. Everyone has told me, everyone is like, why are you going to Scotland in December? They plan to get married in December. I don't know why, but I heard that it's going to be beautiful. And so I'm so excited to like see how, everything is going to be in another country. So I'm so excited about
Oh, that is exciting. Oh, that's
it.
fun. I want to see photographs. Yeah,
Yeah.
lovely.
All the Christmas lights everywhere,
Yeah.
and everybody in their
Exactly.
warm clothes because it's cold outside. So you're around with hot glue wine and yeah.
Exactly. And just be prepared for the light to fade at like 3:30 in the afternoon. It gets dark very early.
And it only gets light after 9.
Wow.
Short
Yeah.
little.
But it'll be wonderful.
Oh, but it's beautiful. Yeah, Christmas markets and so on in Europe. I do love that.
You know, lady, this is in the North Hemisphere, because in the South Hemisphere, when I'm from Buenos Aires,
Mhm.
Christmas is on summer. So you go to the swimming pool. So it's like very different. But I really love being in Europe the last 20 years, more than 20 years, because it's this spirit, right? It's the hot chocolate or the hot wine and the lights and everything. Yeah.
Beautiful. Gina Marie's talking about the naps. I think because we are competitive and therefore our work ethic of not resting and stressing ourselves out. I think what someone was saying, right, about being productive and stuff. Yeah. But I think as Indonesia, things are changing. Like you said, right? The more progressive
Mhm.
companies are encouraging people to take wellness breaks by resting, and maybe the napping culture will catch on. And I think it keeps one looking younger too. I think naps in the afternoon do help with your skin, like you said, Glennis, health and wellness, but I think it helps with your skin and the aging process. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think so. Anyway, let me get on to the next question. What is one thing you are proud of about your culture or heritage?
I'll start and I'll say, so I've told y'all, Bermuda is very, very tiny, right? 60,000 people on a 21 square foot island. Okay. And it is right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which is the pathway for hurricanes, right? So every hurricane season, Bermuda probably gets hit or the tail end of every single hurricane that passes through the Atlantic. And the devastation is always minimal when you compare that to the islands further down that are actually in the Caribbean Sea, or even the hurricanes, that hit the coast of the U.S. I'm very, very proud that my country, their building codes for such a small island, right, are so strict. In all of recorded history, there's only been one hurricane that had any loss of life, and there was like 4 people, that died. Um, they're able to overcome, to rebuild quickly. Everyone bands together, and I think the resiliency of my little island is one of the things that I'm most proud of.
That's very impressive. That's amazing. Maybe
Yeah.
other countries can, follow what you're doing.
They've actually, I'll tell you, because I have a cousin who does this. There have been a group of men who build, homes and are very well versed in the building structure, that have actually gone to other countries like Ghana and are teaching them how to build to withstand, those types of storms. So it's something very phenomenal about just the whole way our island survives. There's no freshwater ponds. There's no fresh water on the island. So all of our water is captured, from the rain. There's like natural filtration systems, like the roofs of the houses are all limestone, and we are able to get fresh drinking water. Like there's nowhere else in the world where I think people can survive like we do in
Wow.
Bermuda. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That's so cool.
Thanks.
Anyone else want to share something they're proud of from?
I suppose
And yes,
mine's
go ahead.
sorry, no, go ahead. I was going to say mine's completely different, but Glynis, that was really, really quite touching what you said actually about the resilience nature and not just the nature but the practical measures that Bermuda has taken to prevent the loss of life during hurricane season. It's just fantastic. Mine's going to sound really vacuous, I'm afraid, after that, potentially, but a complete change, I suppose, because I have this dual heritage, right? Being of Indian heritage, yet never having lived there, but being brought up by Indian parents, and always having, well, being British. I've always had this sort of almost not quite split personality, but when I've been overseas, people have come to me with two things, and I suppose that has led to me being quite proud of it. And it's either being recognized for like Bollywood, usually Bollywood music and dance in every supermarket in almost every country that I've been to. Someone has said to me something around that, or it's been, when I said that from the UK, it's been about comedy and the arts. So for me, I think it's I guess a pride around the arts and culture. So whether that's dance and music, either India or in the UK, or about sort of the TV programs, lots of people around the world, particularly when I was in the States, would talk to me about various comedy programs that they had watched when, at some point in their lives, British comedy programs. So I think for me, that's always been something that I've found common ground with, shall we say, when I'm talking to people who I'm meeting for the first time, whether it's their love of, I don't know, Bollywood film. Most of the time I may not know of it, but still I can come and find something to talk about, or some sort of TV program that they've watched that originated from the UK.
That's very interesting. I watched Mind Your Language. I don't know if you've seen that. Now I think would be considered really racist.
Exactly.
Right? But when I watched it, you just laughed at everyone, and you didn't think too much of it. I don't even know if they would ever show it now. It's like banned,
The way they captured cultural stereotypes of the 1970s, I think absolutely it would not be allowed on TV now. But I'm with you, Nina. I used to love that program as well.
Right. Yeah. So cool. Yeah, Jana and Maria, anything you want to share that you're proud of?
Yeah, my culture is, what I'm proud is that we are so open to other cultures, because, we receive many cultures from all around the world, and we are very warm and welcoming personality. It's like, this is something I'm very proud of. And also this hardworking and willing to progress, and also to find new ways to do things. And this is take me to creativity. We are so creative, sometimes too much, I would say. But also I think we have a wonderful writers, and also when I was a child, I used to watch the show of the Clio, this award they give for the advertisement. And they were the creativity. It was amazing. I remember, Saturday nights watching all this advertisement, and Argentina was winning many of them. And what other thing Argentina is known for? Sports. Now we have the World Cup coming. I don't know how it's going to be, but in the sport we are also very good, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
That reminds me, I'm sorry, that reminds me of the question we talked about earlier with the traditions and values. So in my household, we don't call soccer, we call it football, like we do everywhere else in the world. So in the United States, everyone says soccer, and we say, no, it's football. And they look at us like we're crazy, but whatever, it's football.
Yeah,
Football.
Not just in I think all the British colonies or British, like in India too, there's football, and then you come here and it's soccer. So it's just, it's interesting, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and people don't understand, like
soccer as well.
Yeah, but they don't understand that, and cricket and football. They're like, you know about cricket? Absolutely, yes. I probably know too much about cricket, but yes.
I know. Yeah, I used to love cricket. I've lost, just like the tea, I've lost, my whole love for cricket by living here, which is so sad because it's such a. I just don't understand baseball. Even after 23 years, my husband plays baseball. My kids played for a while. I just don't understand the game. It's so boring. Sorry, Americans. I like cricket any day. Yeah, Janine, did you want to add something about? Yeah.
No, I was just laughing about the baseball. I went and because I've never seen baseball. I grew up in South Africa with they have rugby, cricket, and soccer.
Right.
What I did. So I saw my first baseball game in Japan. It was the Giants playing against some other Japanese team, and one of my students got me tickets to go and watch. And I don't know the rules. So I would want to stand up and clap or something's happening. And if people around me were like, no, sit down. Or something happens. And then after a while, I'd have to watch them be like, oh, now we cheer. Okay, now we cheer. I don't know what happened, but we're cheering now. I don't know. It's very fun. So the whole game, I had to watch everybody around me. They would be like, now you do something. Now you don't. Now we look angry. Now it's like, okay.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, that, and I think that's for anyone who's watching a sport in a new country, right? Like it's so hard to like understand the rules. But yeah, thanks everyone for bringing that up. So I wanted to ask you, and some of you have lived in multiple countries, but was there a moment wherever you lived that you just wanted to fit in, that you didn't want to stand out as an immigrant? And I'll start by saying that in India, where I wore a lot of Western clothes, but I would wear tradition like salwar kameez or saris. And over here, I just wanted to fit in. I didn't want to be this, exotic woman or this Bollywood lady or whatever by wearing like, Indian clothes. So just because, and I noticed very few people from other countries wear their traditional clothes. I think it's mainly Indians who still. I do see people from some African countries. They wear this beautiful, colorful dresses and turbans. Like in my church, there's an African woman. She's from Nigeria, and she proudly wears her clothes. But I kind of put that aside because I just wanted to fit in. So that's been my. I mean, there are other things too, but that was one of the main things, like not wanting to wear unless it was an Indian event or a. I do, before with the Expat Women, I used to host in-person Immigrant Heritage Month, and I should encourage everyone to wear clothes from their countries. But even then, I would carry my outfit and change in the bathroom. Yeah.
I would say. No, you go. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
The one thing I tried to fit in when I moved to Madrid, to Spain, and it was not just clothes; it was about how I speak. Changing the accent, changing the words. It's learning a new language. And I did it in 3 months. My mom said, "What did you do? You renounced to our heritage." She was so upset with me and sad. I say, "No, mommy, I learned a new language. I need to find a job here." And it's like, so, but I managed to fit in. And, but it's, just knowing that you adapt. And it's not just negotiate with. No, it's like I was adapting, but I managed to fit in. But at the beginning, it was not easy.
Yeah. I was gonna say that same thing. For me, when I moved here, I was a young adult, and I immediately entered the corporate world. And so, you're expected to talk a certain way and be able to articulate things. And my accent was, I guess, much stronger. Some people say they hear it now. Like if I get excited or passionate about something, or if I'm angry, you will definitely hear a different me. But I think in my experience, I actually had people that, were supposed to be professional, but they would mock, how I said some words, or, try to tell me how to pronounce words. And I felt like I had to do that. And, if I was preparing to give a presentation or something, I would practice like, how to speak. And I wasted a lot of time and energy on that. They wanted you to wear your hair a certain way and wear certain brands of clothing and things like that. So I thought I had to do those things to fit in. But then I think when I realized, especially in the corporate world, that sometimes fitting in meant compromising your ethics or your values or things like that. And when I realized that the first time someone wanted me to dumb myself down to fit in, I think that's when that was the line for me. And I said, you know what? Absolutely not. I've changed the way I look. I've changed the way I speak, and how I do certain things, but I would not compromise, these other things. And so I just cut everything out. This is what you get. This is what you get. If you don't like it, then you can pass. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think for many of us that, we've had to do some of that stuff. But and I think today, but what makes us unique is because of those where we've come from and how we pronounce words and because even I've been told to pronounce certain words this way so people can, or they'll speak to me really loudly because they think, Glennis, growing up in a British colony, English is like our first language. Yeah. So they talk to you really loudly or very slowly. And I think I feel like my English and grammar is way better than yours. You can't judge someone based on the accent, right? It's so frustrating, so I totally empathize with you. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I think it's very important we hold on to our culture, our accent. When I moved here and I noticed that people teaching accent stripping, it really bothered me because I was like, why should I can understand speak maybe clearer, slower, like Maria was saying, she was speaking another language and trying to articulate. But I think the whole accent stripping is really, I just feel it's kind of discrimination. And especially for us who grew up speaking English, the Americans have an accent too. I tell them when they say, oh, you have an accent, I say, you have an American accent. If you came to India, they would say, you have an accent. The only true English I would say is the UK English and accent because the language originated there. But even you guys, Millie, if you came to India, they say you have a British accent. So the whole accent thing is so interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it's all external, right? Exterior kind of, but it is important. So I remember when one of the first places I worked overseas, I intentionally wore suits because I was in a particular role. I was a representative, I was a diplomat, and I thought that's how I was meant to look. But I often got one particular occasion I got mistaken for a driver because I was not white, right? So, and I had short hair. So they thought my husband actually, who is a white man, was the guest as opposed to me, and kind of like, they shut the door and shooed me away because I was they thought I was the driver of the car. And so from then on, and obviously I didn't tell, and I was the guest of honor actually at the dinner. And I didn't tell the host because I didn't want the poor gatekeeper to lose his job, but that really struck a chord with me. And so from then on, I always thought I'm going to wear what I want to wear and what I like wearing, which is usually dresses and usually red or colorful things and heels. And then I never ever got mistaken for being like a driver or someone. Most often I would get mistaken for not being necessarily like working or something, but that was fine. Because I felt really comfortable with what I was wearing and not having to present and pretend to be someone else. I assume an identity of someone wearing a suit when that was not really what I felt comfortable in. So that's the kind of like the fitting in that I learned at quite a young age. And I suppose the other time was when I was a child coming back to the UK from living overseas. My fellow classmates did not understand why I had grown up in the Middle East and didn't even know where it was. So I just didn't talk about it. And that's when I really wanted to fit in. But luckily, my daughters who have been overseas, they talk about it. So it's fine.
Thank you for sharing. I'm sorry you had to experience that. But, unfortunately, is the world we live in. Yeah. Glynis, did you want to add something? Because when Millie you were going to say something with the accent thing. I saw you.
No. I think you hit the nail on the head and I think someone also in the comments said everyone has an accent. Maria. But even here in the US, right? You have the northeast accent, you have the southern twang, you have the West Coast. I mean, even just in the United States, there are so many different accents, you can't keep up. So.
Right. And I know that the East and West Coast look down on the southern accents and
they do.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy. It's just like But yeah, thanks. Yeah, did Janine, did you want to share anything?
Oh, I've also had issues with my accent when people are like, "You don't sound British enough. You don't sound English. Can you speak English?" And I'm like, "What language do you think I just spoke to you? Did you not understand the words that came out of my mouth when I spoke just because of my accent?" So yeah, I've had that as well, where I tried and people would be like, "Speak slower, speak clearer." I'm like, "How slow do you want me to speak?" But yeah, in the beginning, I would try, and after a while, I was just like, "No, now you get me as I am. This
That's
is
awesome.
this is my voice. This is how I speak. You can either understand or not."
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And Maria, I know you said you have to leave, and I just realized it is 10 a.m. This is such a fascinating conversation, but I know, we have, so maybe we'll have another few minutes. I do want to go. Yeah, we've covered so much. So, Maria, we'll start with you. It's going to be three questions in one. One is, what is one suggestion you have for people to celebrate Immigrant Heritage Month? You're also a member of the Expat Women membership. How do you enjoy being a member? Because I'm always trying to bring in new members because we can continue to have these conversations, things we do inside our membership, and how can people find you, work with you? And that's the same question for everybody. And Millie, hopefully we'll have you join the membership soon. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have another meeting and I have to cross London to get there.
Okay. Do you want to stay quickly, very quickly, 1 minute? Yeah.
One thing I highly recommend is, to celebrate the Heritage Month, is talk with your relative, the older, relative. You have an auntie. Last month, I went to Argentina. I took my 80 years old auntie to a road trip to her hometown. That is my dad's hometown. And it was amazing because she told me a lot of stories, and I really knew a lot of stories from my Switzerland grandfather that I didn't know. And it's great because like this we can honor our heritage, and also we can bring it alive again in our families. And what I really love about the expat women is this, getting together, having, these opportunities to talk and share things that are very important. And usually we don't find the moment or the way to share. So I encourage every other expat woman to join this wonderful network that Naina has created. And where can you find me? In LinkedIn, of course. And then also I have my website is www. Okay, my name, I will write it down in the chat. eugeniamazzino.com or familiasexpatriadas.com. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, you can write it in there. Thanks, Maria. And yeah, and I'll share with you guys how you can share your information on the live stream. But thank you for joining. Sorry that it's taken a little longer.
I'm sorry to leave you.
No worries. Thank you. Who wants to go next?
I'll go ahead. So definitely agree with what you just said about speaking with the older generation, and that's especially more important to me now that I was fortunate enough to have my great grandparents, both sets of grandparents, and all of that growing up. And now they're all gone. And last month I just lost my mom. So I am like the oldest person. I've been told, I'm like the matriarch, but I am glad that I got all of the stories, from the older women. But I mean, I think for people just outside of just your family, for people who are not immigrants or have immigrant relatives, just learn and share a story from any immigrant. Like we're sharing our stories today, right? And learn about their challenges and learn about their journeys and their traditions, and their contributions. And then share that, of course, with their permission, right? You might want to share it like in a workplace spotlight or like a community event, but I think that helps to build like understanding. It helps to preserve, our histories, and it recognizes the diversity. It moves beyond just celebrating food and festivals, and it actually highlights people and the stories behind these experiences. That's important to me.
Beautiful.
I'm sorry. And about being an member of the Expat Women, listen, different every single conversation. Nana, she can set an agenda and say, these are the things we want to discuss. And we just talk about everything. And it's you always leave learning something, right? And I think that's what I value the most. I always learn something from every single conversation I have on this platform. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn. That's the easiest place to find and connect with me. And it's my name. I'm easy to find.
Thank you, Glenn. And that
Thank
what you
you.
just said, I really appreciate, because you being in global mobility for so many years, I'm like, why is Glennis even a member of the expat women? Because she meets all these like expats, and and so it just, I mean, I love all my members, but when like, because not everyone works in global mobility. So when you say
Yeah.
that, and that you get so much out of it, and you were a speaker at the summit, and I appreciate that despite
Yeah.
going through so much personally and your work schedule. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I have met wonderful people so far, and it's the people you meet, the lives, you hear the real stories, and it's the people behind the facade. I don't know. It's, you get personal information about everybody. I like that about the Expat Women Group.
And you just joined the membership last month, Janeline, and you're already showing up on the stage and very active and engaged. I love it. That
And so far, I've met lots of people on screen and even in person, which just makes it so much more valuable for me as well.
Thank you. And how can people find you? And any one tip for someone who, to celebrate Immigrant Heritage Month? I love what Glennis shared.
You can find me on Healing Art Journey. My website is Healing Art Journey, or on LinkedIn, Janeline Smallman for Healing Art Journey. You can find me there. And one thing I would say for expats is, don't just go abroad and stay within your same culture. Don't go and look for, oh, I'm British, I go and look for the British expat group in that country. Just hang out with them. I actually make it a point of avoiding any South African expat groups in any country I go to, because I want to experience that culture. I go out and I meet people from that culture and people from other cultures even. And you just experience the world. It opens up so many things for you, life-wise, thoughts, and you learn so much about everybody and about the place where you live. I've made friends in each country, but never from people from where I come from. I have made now in Kuwait, where I live. I went kayaking with strangers, and I met a Kuwaiti woman there, and I became friends with her. And I'm learning so much about culture, which I would never have known if I just went to other expat groups or other people from Britain or South Africa, or these people that I already know the cultures about, or where I could feel safe, where I feel I immediately fit in. It's, yes, be the foreigner, go and out, be the one who makes stupid mistakes and asks stupid questions and sounds stupid to yourself by doing it, but that's how you learn. And they ask you again. If you do that, then they feel they can ask you about your culture, and they can then say, okay, so I've actually always wanted to know this. Do you guys really do that? Or how does it work in your country? Yeah, it opens conversation both ways. So I would say that's my biggest tip, is go and explore the culture, the people. Don't just hide where you feel comfortable.
That's a great tip. Thank you. Beautiful. And Millie, you have a tip, and how can people find you and work with you?
Yeah, no, sure. So I mean, fantastic tips from Maria and Glennis and Janeline, and mine, I suppose, sort of follows a little bit from all of them, in that for me, it's just about being curious and maybe looking under the surface, because it's not always what you assume or think you know. That's coming from my own experience, where people just assume they know who I am, what I am, but also about the country you're living in. You know, you might assume that people are a certain way, or that a celebration is held in a certain way. But be curious, ask about it, find out a little bit more. As Yadeline was saying, explore, be adventurous, and as Glynis and Maria were saying, talk to people about it. Either your own relatives or others, just just to be curious about something that you maybe assume you know about, but maybe there's more to it than you actually know. And I would say that goes about yourself. Be curious about yourself and about your own identity and your own kind of culture and heritage as well, because there's probably more to it than you know. And so in terms of like how people can find me, I've got it there. It's my website, milliemcdevitt.com. So it's MILLIE McDevitt, MCDEVITT.com, or on LinkedIn. And as I've said, my work is particularly around expat spouses, particularly kind of spouses of diplomats, just so that to help them feel happier and satisfied where their partners, their spouses have been posted. So that's me. And in terms of Expat Woman, although I'm not a member yet, I hope to be very soon. I have got so much in this very short space of time that I have been involved and found out about it, Nina. So I think I came to you quite late, but yeah, but better late than never. And I'm really glad to have found you and have met so many wonderful people through it. So yeah, looking forward to a lot more engagement.
Thank you so much, Millie. And all of you shared such wonderful tips that I feel I don't need to share anything else, because very powerful. Glynis said about celebrating other immigrants, and I think that's so important. If you don't have your own story, but also sharing a story, Millie's, and now my mind's going blank, so I can't really recap. This is what happens after an hour. I'm going to recap what you said. But people can listen. But I would also say be proud of your culture. I mean, as much as you can. I mean, there's certain things like I will not wear Indian outfit to just anything, but I'm still owning who I am and where I'm from. And I think that's what differentiates us. Makes us unique, gives us the competitive edge if you're on business, because you bring your culture with you. So, and don't let anyone tell you, to strip your accent or to change your accent, own your accent, because that shows that you've lived somewhere else, that you speak more than one language, you've had experiences and cultures. And I'll share my details in the chat as well. But thank you all so much. Thank you, Tree and Marie, who's not here, for joining me. This was I think we could have had this go on for several more hours and just sharing more and, but I know everyone's busy, or maybe some of you have, my nap time's coming up in a few hours. Maybe Glynis is around the corner. So you ladies, maybe a cup of tea before you go to bed. I don't know. But yeah, and thank you for everyone who's joining us in watching this live or the replay. And we will see you soon. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.